Hey there, this is James Moffitt with Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast. I'd like to invite you to support this podcast by sending a donation to my PayPal account at jcmoffitt at icloud.com. That's jcmoffitt at icloud.com. Or you can also visit my website at https://liberty and gun rights podcast.buzzsprout.com. That's BUZZ sprout.com. You can choose to be either a sponsor or a subscriber to the podcast. Your support will go towards underwriting the cost of producing this podcast. You can contact me with any questions at lgrinfo@proton.me. That's lgrinfo@proton.me. Thank you for listening to these podcast episodes, and now to the feature presentation. Hello and welcome to Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast. My name is James Moffitt and I will be your host. Today's episode will be about defending liberty in the crosshairs, a conversation with Adam Peters. Hey Adam, how are you?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Good. Do me a favor and introduce yourself to the listening audience.
Yeah, my name is Adam Peters. I'm involved in a lot of things, least of which is the Strategic Veteran Podcast, Plant Medicine Retreats, an AI company. I served 13 years in the United States Army, deployed 4 times, 3 to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan, hit rock bottom in my own transition and try to advocate for veterans to do better as they're getting out, not make the same mistakes that I did.
Well, thank you for your service. I interviewed a gentleman named Kenny DePar. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. I don't know if you know him or not.
I don't. I haven't. I mean, it's as small as it is, it's still a big place, man.
Yeah. Well, I think he did 2 or 3 tours in Iraq. He was in the engineering corps, I believe.
Okay. I was an infantry guy, so didn't cross paths with those guys a lot. Grateful for the work that they did, though.
Absolutely. So the title of this is Defending Liberty in the Crosshairs, a conversation with Adam Peters. And so I just want you to kind of take off with it and take the lead on where you want the conversation to go, if you don't mind.
We could go so many places with this. Have you looked outside at the political landscape of the United States in the last 10 years?
Sadly enough, yes.
It's fucking ridiculous, man. We forget, I don't even know. Wherever you want to go with this, man, I've got thoughts and feelings. I'm sure we could dive into a whole bunch of this.
Okay. All right. So your stance on individual liberty, how do you define it, and what personal experiences shape your conviction?
Man, personal liberty, really just leave me the hell alone. Regulation, like common sense, like treat others as you want to be treated, stuff from the Bible, really. Like we could all get along, we can all share ideas, and fucking think for yourself, man. Stop this hive mind jumping on what's trendy and not being able to defend your position. I think that's true liberty right there, is being able to formulate your own thoughts and ideas, conversations with other citizens of this great country, and come to some kind of a conclusion, whether you agree or disagree, but we can all get along.
Yeah, why can't we agreeably disagree, right? Why can't we, I like to say, you do you and I'll do me, right? And we may not agree with what we're doing or what we think or our political standpoint or religious standpoint or whatever, but that's what makes America great. We have a lot of diversity. We have a lot of, we're a country of immigrants, and we all come from different cultures and backgrounds, educational levels, and all of that. So, yeah, I agree.
Well, I think, too, when you learn how to have those disagreeable conversations, it breeds innovation. It's how we move forward as a society instead of get stuck in the divide and ripping each other apart.
Right. Well, it's like we're in the middle of the snowflake generation, right? We don't want to hurt people's feelings. Corporate America, what do they say? There's 2 things that you can't talk about at the office. And what are those things?
Corporate America a long time ago.
Well, politics and religion.
Of course.
You can't talk about politics. You can't talk about religion because You're going to hurt somebody's feelings. In all honesty, we are all passionate about what we believe, no matter what it is. Right? And the sad fact of the matter is that we have lost the art of having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And being objective, trying to be objective about other people's thought processes. And I may not agree with it. I mean, you may be off in left field and I might think you've been smoking crack all night when you tell me this stuff, but I'm going to at least respect it. I may not agree with it, but I'll respect it. And in turn, I want the other person to give me a shot to tell them how I feel or what my thought processes are or my beliefs, And
And let's be honest, sometimes you need to get your feelings hurt to grow as a person.
true. That's true. Because guess what? We're not always right?
No.
Sometimes we're wrong.
We're wrong more often than we're right, brother.
Yeah.
That's a simple fact of life. And I really do genuinely believe, I'm 40, so I grew up, getting my feelings hurt a lot. And I think it builds resilience, it builds character. It does teach you how to have discussions with other people who do have different ideals instead of just, I don't know, man. The way it seems now is somebody just looks at you the wrong way and they blow up on you for absolutely no reason, like not willing to have a conversation. It evolves into name calling and you're a racist or you're a Marxist or whatever it may be. It's just, it's products of people being coddled their whole lives, getting handed an iPad or a cell phone to raise them and building absolutely zero resilience in life whatsoever.
Right. So local versus federal power. What are your thoughts on where true liberty is most defensible? County sheriff, state legislature, or federal court?
I mean, let's just look at this logically. It has to start at the local level. If you want to make real change and you want things to actually change and your vote to matter, you have to pay attention to what's going on at the local level. And I think a lot of what goes on at the local level is overshadowed by this much bigger federal level thing that everybody seems to pour their time and attention into. And I've had this conversation a lot. Like, I don't give a shit if you care who's president or not. Like, if you really take a step back and look at your life, other than economic changes, what does the president of the United States really do to affect your life? It's your county, your city and your county elected officials who really make your life miserable, who are raising your taxes, who are writing rules that you have to follow, and you just blindly let it happen. I've only lived here in Florida for a short time, and I remember going to the voting booth here last November asking people like, hey, what do I need to know about these people that I'm supposedly voting for? And nobody could answer me. Nobody could answer me. Like, they didn't know anything about the candidates like that we were blindly voting for. So I just didn't vote for any of those people.
Right. Hey, a question, funny question. How do you know when a politician is lying?
So they're always lying.
Their lips are moving.
That's just it, right? Any word that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah. Well, the thing that irritates me about politics is that politicians or candidates build their campaign around a platform, right? Well, what's your platform? And now with the technology age that we live in, 9 times out of 10, whether they're going to tell you, well, go to my website. I outline all of that on my website. And I'm like, I don't want to go look at your website. I'm asking you, what are your viewpoints on gun control? What are your viewpoints on taxation? What are your viewpoints on border security, immigration? All the things that are hot topics for America today, right? And 9 times out of 10, they'll have some kind of little quote, a little quip or something that they'll give you, but you're not going to get to the meat of the matter, right? And they're like, well, I'm pro Second Amendment, but I believe in A, B, C, and D has to happen before you. In other words, I want to sell you your rights back to you. I want you to have a concealed weapon permit, and I want you to be fingerprinted by the FBI, and I want all these things to. You're a legal United States citizen. You're not a felon. You haven't broken any laws, other than maybe a traffic law or something here or there. But why are you trying to sell my rights back to me when the Constitution says it's a right? It's not a privilege. It's a right.
Yeah, I got a funny story that goes along with what you're talking about. I just came back from Peru a week ago, and when I got to Miami into the airport, I got pulled off to the side and dragged to the back room so that they could go through all of my electronics and find out if I was a terrorist. And I just looked at the Homeland Security guy and I was like, motherfucker, I fought for this country. And I'm sitting in this room and you're going to make me unpack my bag and explain my whereabouts? Like, what?
Wow.
Like, okay, I get it if I'm not like a resident of the United States of America who fought for this country. And I understand, like, look, the agent was just doing his job. I think he was very professional, and you could see how uncomfortable he was with doing it also, but like also at the same time feeling extremely violated. Like I just came back from Peru, taking a group of veterans to change their lives doing ayahuasca. And you now have the right to go through my phone, my watch, my computer, everything else that I was carrying with me, and make me unpack my bag and explain why I have what I have. That just doesn't seem right.
It's not right. Absolutely not right. I mean, it's almost like they're profiling you, right?
Oh, 100%.
Because you don't have the clean-cut American persona that they're looking for that screams, I'm American, I'm a flag-waving, red-blooded American. And they probably looked at your beard and your tattoos and, he's an undercover terrorist. Well, that's bullshit.
Well, particularly when you hand them like your ID, they want your passport, they want your driver's license. I'm like, do you want my fucking military ID and my pilot's license also? Because like, look, dude, like I'm not who you think that I am, and I think it all comes back to, you were talking about the politicians. They forget that they represent the people, and they direct people to their website because their website is their cop-out for not having to reveal their true agenda, which is, I only give a shit about myself and lining my pockets when I take this office, because that's what it's become, and not giving a shit about polling my constituents to find out what my constituents want. And that can be said all the way down to the school board level and all the way up to the presidency and the federal level.
I agree. So modern threats to liberty, what do you see as the most pressing challenge right now? Digital surveillance, gun control, or legal interpretations of foundational texts?
Think, man, if you have been paying attention to what's been going on with the new administration, the weaponization of the justice system scares the ever-living hell out of me. I think that's probably, look, let's be honest, gun control is not ever going to be an issue because those of us that own guns, and there's a lot of us, will never play by those rules. There will be some people that will turn that shit in, but I think the vast majority of people, they'll stand up to that tyranny. The weaponization of the justice system, they just sent a senator to prison for 7 years for no reason, for literally no reason. And we've got examples of people who are blatantly breaking the law. You have mayors standing up in cities saying, I will not comply with what the federal government says, when it comes to border security, yet no action has been taken. You've got rioting and looting going on in the streets to the tunes of billions of dollars in damage, in property damage, and that all falls on the taxpayer. Yet, the people who go to protest on January 6th, who were let in by the security, and actually protesting in the place that they should be protesting in. Like, if you want to go have a protest, take it to the halls of Congress, where the people who represent you need to hear you. They get imprisoned for 6 fucking years for what reason? They have zero reason. You have a farce of a trial that everybody wants to say the president is now a convicted felon, when every single one of those counts is a misdemeanor, and they played redefining words and what they meant and bent statutes of limitations, and just like, you'd have to be blind to not see all of this. You have so much corruption through the system that we now know multiple billions of our tax dollars were going to fund NGOs and in shit that none of us as Americans would ever approve. Right. I think that is the biggest threat, man, is the cancer that exists in the landscape of the federal government. And I know that has secondary and tertiary effects to the state and local government as well. That's how the world has become. And it scares me, man. It scares me knowing that for any reason, they can knock on my door and arrest me and put me in jail and make up a bunch of shit. And a lot of people are going to go up with it.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Just follow the money.
Yeah, that's it.
We have lobbyists that are at the state and federal level that actually write bills for our legislators to push and to vote on, and they line their pockets with cash. And it's like in Congress, I forget, I don't know what the statistics are today. I think, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, it was like many people, many senators in the Congress are millionaires, and they
Yeah, oh
didn't
yeah.
start out as millionaires.
Oh,
And they came in. It's like, we the people, they're supposed to be representing us. They're supposed to be representing the will of the American public, right? The people that vote them into office. And they get in there, and it's good old boy politics, and they have to follow the agenda. And on the state level, I know several. Jonathan Hill, I don't know if you know him in Columbia. He's a junior senator, and he went up there, and the Republican caucus kicked him out because he wasn't following the rules. He wasn't towing the party line. He wasn't following their agenda. So they just booted him out of the Republican caucus, and now they just ignore him. You
yeah,
know, and he's an example of a politician that was voted into office to do the will of the people, we the people. And because he's not playing the game correctly, he's not playing the good old boy politics, now they just ignore him, so
yeah.
now he's like a lame duck. And it happens on the federal level too. And it's term limits, you know.
Something, man. Take lobbying out of it. The money needs to get out
Yeah,
of it.
remove lobbying. Let's implement term limits. When did becoming a representative of the people become a career path?
Exactly.
What college courses do you take to learn how to be a politician? There aren't
Well,
any.
they go to law school. That's what they do.
Right,
They're all
exactly.
lawyers, and you know another troubling statistic. It's something like 3% of the whole federal government legislature is veterans who have served this country in another capacity. That's mind blowing. I think we should have a lot more people who are in touch with reality. I also think that there's a lot of things that need to be done. There's no reason that a senator should get a $2,000 salary a year. I don't care. If you represent your state, your salary should be the minimum wage or the median income of people in your state. That's what you should get paid. The taxpayer shouldn't be footing the bill for you to go to DC and all of that. I think that would incentivize the right people to do the right work, not, incentivize the greedy people to go and get a $200,000 paycheck. And then, you can go to sites like Unusual Whales and you can track these representatives and where they're investing their money. And you could follow the paper trail and see it's definitely insider trading. I think they should be banned from all of that stuff too. I think there's a lot of steps that could be taken even without term limits, but term limits for sure is a big one, but the money has to go from politics. We shouldn't have corporations blackmailing and bribing and filling and lining these politicians' pockets.
And they, what was the thought I just had? Your typical politician, like say up in Washington, they spend probably 70% of their time or more fundraising.
Yeah.
That's all
Oh
they
yeah.
do. Fundraise. They just raise funds. And it's like, and I'll tell you what really pisses me off, and I hate to use strong language like that, but it really angers me when I hear like the big beautiful bill. You name a bill, I don't care what bill it is. Senators have the gall to go on national TV and go, "I don't have time to read a 3,000-page bill. Who does? I just vote on it."
Then why the fuck did you write it?
I'm like, well, even if they didn't write it, somebody wrote it. And what's their job? To interpret what these bills are. And of course, they got all this pork belly crap in there, and they got all this garbage rolled up into this big, I don't want to say big, beautiful bill, but even in that one, there's a bunch of garbage in that one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, why are we spending thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars on studying the ramifications of underwater basket weaving?
Yeah, because the truth is those people are above you. They view themselves as above you. They think that, they are elite, and they don't give a shit about you. That's really what it comes down to.
Right. Lovely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your work with veterans. I appreciate your service to our country, and I'm not a veteran. I was medically unable to join the armed forces.
Yeah, man.
I'm from a military family, so talk a little bit about what you're doing with that. Tell us, whatever you want to tell us about your experience in the military, coming out, your transition from military life back to civilian life, how it affected you, and all that.
Yeah, man. So, 2 years ago, around this time, 2 years ago, I got hooked up with Heroic Hearts Project, got to go to Peru and sit with ayahuasca for the first time. And it completely changed my life. Really, really started the healing journey for me. Before that, I spent 8.5 years trying to find my way in the world after the Army. I joined the Army young at 17, spent a year on delayed entry. Really very shortly after I graduated, less than a month, was at basic training and then overseas fighting a war every other year for my career. And I was medically retired in 2015 and just kind of left standing with my dick in my hand. I didn't have a clue who I was or what I was going to do because my whole identity was wrapped up in the military. So for 8.5 years, I struggled, man. I went to flight school and became a commercial pilot. I got a bachelor's, degree in business and psychology. Just, trying a bunch of different things and just none of it was resonating with me at all whatsoever. So, hit rock bottom, man. And was ready to take my own life and just check out and not be here anymore until I went and did that ayahuasca thing, and it just kind of opened the door for me. And when I came back from that, I was like, what can I do? What can I do to, just try and have some kind of impact on the 22 a day? And very quickly, just kind of started posting, getting on social media, on LinkedIn, trying to network with business professionals and see what that looked like. I got a suggestion to start the podcast. I didn't really have a clue what it was going to be about, but I was kind of toying with this idea because I had felt the best I'd ever felt by trying to build my own business and pursue something that was mine. So I started the podcast with the idea that the path back to purpose was through entrepreneurship, which I still very much believe. About 10 or so episodes into it, studying the transcripts and all of that, I realized the issue is in the transition. They don't prepare us to get out. They don't do anything to help us decide, where we're at, and meet us where we're at and kind of help push us in the right direction. And so I started talking about the transition and started pointing out all of these things that you can do to start identifying like who you are without the uniform. And it's really resonated with the community, man. And I'm pretty blunt about how I deliver that message, and it really resonates because, some of the examples of messages I get are, hey man, really appreciate your candor, really love that you tell it like it is, and you found a way to put to words what I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing, and I just couldn't do that. And so that has led to all kinds of opportunity for me, man, through, partnering with a plant medicine retreat and being the veteran coordinator for amakaya.org, being able to take groups of veterans down to have the same experience I had with ayahuasca. Just got back from the first trip. I'm the chief AI officer with equity in a AI company. And that's taken off and starting to generate revenue. And by the end of the year, will be making me more money than I could have ever dreamed. And it's just I live my life on my terms. I control my time and where my energy goes, and I don't have to answer to anybody. And it's just been awesome to learn about myself, to learn what I'm capable of, to see that there's an alternative to what the transition assistance programs across the military try to force upon you.
So I got your website up here. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah.
But, I wanted the people that are going to watch the video episode on Rumble or my YouTube channel, I wanted them to see that. Oh, so do you mind me asking you what some of your transition issues were when you transitioned out of the military back into civilian life?
Yeah, of course, man. The three biggest things that ring true for everybody who gets out is the immediate loss of identity, the immediate loss of purpose, and the immediate loss of community/network. And the two big ones are identity and purpose because they're very closely tied together. If you look at somebody like me who was 17 years old when I joined, I'm being conditioned under the authority of my parents and then, ultimately the Army to be the best infantryman in support of the global war on terror for the United States Army that I could possibly be. And that's really true for a lot of us. And so I never had the college experience to go and, make mistakes without the authority of my parents. It's kind of like a lesser authority, right? Like you've got to play by the rules of the college and the dorms and all of that. But what's the punishment? You get kicked out of school and you have to go find a job. Like the punishment's much more severe in the military. You know what I mean? Like they're going to take time and pay, and you're going to, screw up your career and maybe even get kicked out, which then disqualifies you from a lot of other things. So there's more consequences. So you really toe the line, and you just become who they want you to become, versus that college experience where you get to meet people from all over the world and share, the growing up, if you will, together, and really start to form your identity as a person. So when you can no longer be an infantryman in support of the global war on terror for the United States Army, and that's all you've known for 13 years, it's like, what are you supposed to do? I have no purpose anymore. I don't know who I am, and I've never been given a chance to discover who I am. And so, how does the Army think that the best way to approach that is they tell you to use your GI Bill, go to college, congratulations, you're a veteran, you'll make six figures. That's what success looks like. Slap you on the ass and wish you good luck. Well, what if that doesn't work for people like you? Then you get stuck in this, like I call it a transition hole. You just kind of get stuck, not knowing what to do, not feeling like you're doing the right thing, not feeling like you have a place in the world. Just completely confused, lost, no structure. You let yourself go physically, which then affects everything else. So I went through all of that, man, to the tune of, at my heaviest, I was 320 pounds. I currently weigh 209 pounds. I couldn't or wouldn't hold a job. I had many different jobs, managing a gun store while I was in college, a little bit of flight instruction, the insurance industry, all facets of that, from life and health to property and casualty to Medicare and Medicaid to back to instructing to cutting lawns. I did it all and was never fulfilled. And the minute I took a bet on myself and said, I'm going to build something that's mine, man, I've experienced the most joy and happiness and freedom, even though I didn't make money for a long time. It was just so much better. And that's what I try to encourage all veterans to do, is to take that step back, to sit with themselves, look in the mirror, and ask themselves a question, yeah, but what do I want? And then kind of go from there.
I don't know if I don't know if you like Denzel Washington or his Equalizer movies, but I don't know if you've seen any of those, but one of his quotes in the movie when he's talking to somebody that's having a rough time or doesn't like their lot in life, his answer is change your world.
Yes. Yeah, I love those movies. Those are some of my favorite movies. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
If you don't like your world, change it. Make small changes. Another saying he has is progress, not perfection.
That's it, man. And I can't tell you how true those words actually are. So I was under the illusion that we don't have the ability to change our own lives and manifest our own things. That's absolutely not true. Through my own podcast is the reason I'm now sitting here. I would have never signed up for Podmatch. I would have never put a profile on there. You would have never found it. It's incredible, the opportunity that you can create for yourself. And I think that's the lie we've all been sold, is that you have to do it a certain way. Talks about, kind of going out and making your own way.
Right. Well, you have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I think America was kind of built on that. And we're a nation of immigrants that came over from other nations, and did their thing, and worked their way to getting and earning the a part of the American pie and freedom and liberty and all of that. And as I've never been in the military, but I've seen movies, and I know this is probably a bad analogy to use, but it also kind of works out in civilian life. But you have somebody that's been in the military, like you said, for 13 years, you're an infantryman that trained you how to kill people with your bare hands and trained you with weapons and all that. And so you come out of the military and you're all of a sudden you're back in the civilian life, and you're like, well, what skills do I have that are transferable to civilian life?
Yeah.
100%. And unless you were working with computer technology, or your MOS was a highly specialized training, probably a lot of your things that you were taught in the Army are not transferable. And so let's just say, for instance, you have a 4-year degree. You go get a bachelor's degree in psychology or underwater basket weaving, and you're sitting in the interview manager's, the manager's office, and he's interviewing you, and he's go, well, that's great. You have a 4-year degree, but what can you do with it? What skills do you have?
Man,
What's
see,
gonna? You
yeah,
have no experience,
this is
and
such a great question because, I was an infantryman, so I do distinctly remember feeling like that. I can't put I kill people and I'm good at it on a resume. That doesn't translate. But we do have a ton of high leverage skills from number one, the day you join is the day they start grooming you to become a leader. So you have exponential amount of leadership skill over your civilian counterparts, bar none, because the consequences are far higher as a leader in the military than they will ever be in the civilian world. So that's number one, just learning how to adapt your leadership. And this is a big point of contention because it is a valuable skill. However, the way that we lead in the military is with purpose, is with, like I said, because of the consequences. So what I'm finding now, it doesn't matter what your MOS was, even those people with high software engineering or whatever, Intel, those sought after applicable jobs to the civilian life, they're still going into rooms where mediocrity is the standard and people don't want to be led. Well, that meshes with our leadership style in the military because there's not an option. Either you're a good leader or you get fired and they find someone to lead better than you. And oh, by the way, if you get fired as a leader, your career is over. You'll never be a leader again. So that's the first skill. We've got problem solving, adaptability. Those three skills alone are enough to give you an exponential edge over your civilian counterparts in any corporate America setting. The issue is you have to be willing to take a couple of steps back and understand I can't go get that 6-figure job as a leader in a company because I don't understand how that company's systems work. It's just like you would never have Jeff Bezos come take over an infantry platoon and say, okay, write the op order and conduct this operation, because he'll get everybody killed. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. However, with those skills that you're bringing from the military, maybe you climb that ladder in 3 months and it took everybody else 3 years. I think you're at an exponential advantage to climbing that ladder and getting to where you want to be if you can humble yourself long enough to take a step back and see it that way.
Well, it's good. I'm glad to hear that. I hadn't really thought of it that way.
Yeah, man. This has been almost 2 years of having conversations and really thinking about, all the mistakes that we're making, the mistakes that I made. Because look, I made those same mistakes. Like, that's beneath me. I'm not going to go do that. And ultimately, I made a bet on myself. I'm so glad that I did. I understand that's not for everybody, but the same principles can apply for those who choose to have the 9 to 5 and work the corporate life. The principles are the same.
I got you. So what do you think the biggest struggle, you work with veterans, right? And so what do you think their biggest struggle is?
Having the conversation with themselves, being honest with themselves, afraid to face whatever's going on up in here in the mirror or with a therapist, or asking for help is a big one. I think these all go hand to hand. True healing starts when you choose yourself over everything else. And I literally mean everything else, wife, kids, like until you put yourself first and you face that version of yourself that you don't know yet, you're just going to feel empty inside. And it takes a village, not just, I didn't get to where I'm at on my own. In fact, I just wrapped up a whole 15-day content piece where I gave credit to those people who have truly influenced me over my journey and gave reasons how they impacted my life and why, and all because I reached out to people and asked for help. I don't know what I'm doing. I am messed up in the head and this is my situation. I don't know how to handle it. Shit like that, man. It's super important to realize nobody gets where they're going alone. You have to ask for help and you have to get out of your own way and you have to have those conversations with yourself.
So do you think there's somewhat of a stigma there for people being willing to ask for help?
100%, man. I'm a product of that stigma. I watched good leaders ruin their careers because they went to get help with mental health. And I preach this all the time. I just wrapped up another, my own podcast episode before this one with the Mental Perk podcast. the two incredible women, and we just talked about this at length. It's the strongest thing you can do. It was painted as weakness, but asking for help, admitting that you need help, being vulnerable in that moment, it's the absolute strongest thing that you can do. And man, I'll tell you, it opens so many doors for you. I can't stress that enough. It's uncomfortable. It's scary. It's embarrassing. It's all of the negative emotions that you don't want to face. But I'm telling you, once you face them, once you ask for help, and once you start receiving proper help, it's the most amazing thing in the world.
So I may have some veterans in my listening audience, and they may or may not be struggling with PTSD or suicidal ideation or any of those things. However, if somebody is struggling with some of those mental health issues, who can they reach out to? What support system is out there that, that they can reach out to? I mean, isn't there a high rate of suicide amongst veterans?
Yeah, there is, man. And unfortunately, nobody can keep up with it. My best advice, man, is there's a lot of guys out here like me doing stuff like this, giving their time for free, just being a voice and an ear. My biggest piece of advice, if you're in that place, man, as hard as it's going to be, ignore and override, but you need to reach out to those people that you can trust and just start the conversation with, I just need someone to listen. In the 2 years I've been doing this work, I find that most people who reach out to me, they want nothing more than to just be heard. And I cannot tell you how much of a difference that makes in people's lives. There are people out there that will listen to you. You can call me, you can DM me. I can point you in the direction of my pretty large network of people who are willing to listen and help. I have my own people that I'm going through a pretty tough time in my personal life right now and getting ready to share all those details with my entire audience, but I'm not doing it alone. I have very solid people, mentors in my life who I trust, who I tell everything, who help me make sense of what I'm going through and help me keep my head on straight and make those decisions. So stop holding on to it by yourself. Find somebody to dump that on and vent to, and I promise you, you'll start to get better. You'll start to see a way forward, and you'll start to snap out of it.
That's good. Yeah, it's like you said, sometimes it takes a village.
It
And
does, man. It really
life
does.
is hard, and none of us are invincible.
Uh-uh.
I don't care who says what or what the Army tells you or Marine Corps or whatever. We're human, and we have emotions and we have issues, and we certainly need help. There's nothing wrong with needing help, and there is something wrong with not asking for help.
Yes.
So getting back to some of this other stuff, legislative engagement and grassroots mobilization. Recent or pending legislation in South Carolina. What are your views on current Second Amendment related bills like the red flag laws? I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Yeah, look, man, Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. It's there for a reason. I think we need to stop with all this shit. Like, we need to stop blaming the guns and start blaming the people who are wielding these weapons. Like, look, laws, if you haven't figured this out, there was just a giant shooting in New York City yesterday.
Right.
Giant shooting. 6 people dead, 2 of them cops, I think. I kind of stay out of all of that stuff. I just don't, it's not good energy. I don't want it in my life. But New York is one of the most heavily regulated gun control states on the planet. And this dude's walking around shooting people with I think it was a long rifle, wasn't it?
I don't know. I haven't dug into the details.
Like, if we haven't figured out that more regulation isn't going to stop the problem, then I think it's all bullshit, man. And I think we need to stop. We need to start actually addressing the actual problem. And there are some evil, sick individuals on this planet, and it's just like anything else. The only way to stop bad guys with guns is to let good guys have guns. It's the only way to stop the drug trade is to make sure good people are out there doing the work to stop the drug trade from coming in. If you want it, you'll get it. It doesn't matter how many laws are in place. I think we have enough societal evidence to show that.
Well, there's this mantra that the liberals love to cram down our throats called gun violence. Gun violence this, gun violence that. And I like to tell them that I've got a gun safe behind me that, of course, I kind of cover it up because I have a parenting adult children podcast and I want to scare the snowflakes. But it's like none of those guns have killed anybody. They haven't broken out of the safe. They haven't gone on a shooting rampage. Guns are not violent.
No.
It's violent perpetrators and predators that are violent. And they don't have to use a gun. I mean, we just recently saw a news story where this guy stabbed people to death, injured them, was walking around. I forget where it was at. I think it was a shopping mall, Walmart. I think it was Walmart just recently up in
Stabbing
Michigan.
people.
Stabbed 9 people.
Yeah, what about the
And
guy who lit people on fire on the college campus earlier this year? Just run
yeah,
around
it's
lighting
just
people on fire. Like, somebody died last week probably of being beat to death with a golf club. Like, it's the same. You've seen the content, man. Like, assault golf club, assault cell phone, assault water bottle. Like, I can turn anything into a weapon.
right, absolutely. And our legislators are, it's like you instantly have an emotional knee-jerk reaction where we're like, we need more gun legislation. We need to restrict guns, gun control, gun control. We need more gun control laws. And it's like, we have more gun control laws on the books than we have people to enforce them, right?
For sure. I mean,
So let's,
why don't we talk about more DUI laws? Why don't we talk about how toxic alcohol is and how many more
right.
people drunk driving kills a year than guns actually kill a year? And why don't we actually look at the statistics on gun violence and see that it's a very, very tiny percentage of gun deaths in the United States. Most of them are self-inflicted. Most of them.
Well, and one of the things that they don't want to, they don't want to hear, especially liberals and liberal politicians, is that there are more unreported cases where a good guy with a gun
Yes.
stops a bad guy with a gun.
Yeah, because that goes against their argument. They don't want to report on
Goes
that
against
data.
their agenda. And I'm a member of the USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association, and I get their quarterly magazine. And there's 15 pages of articles of people exercising their Second Amendment right to protect themselves and their families. Burglaries, home invasions, robberies, carjackings, all sorts of scenarios where a bad person, a violent predator, is trying to force their will on a victim, right? And I always like to tell people, we are our own first responders. The police are there, but they're minutes away, and you can be dead in minutes, right? So calling 911, sure, have your wife or your boyfriend or your significant other call 911 and let them know there's going to be a shooting, and you're not going to be the one that's going to get shot. You're going to take care of business, right?
For sure,
Yeah.
man.
It's like
All about it.
I am responsible for my own personal security and my family's personal security. And I'm a vice president of South Carolina Carry. I've been involved in it's a 501c4, gun education, self-defense, and all of that. And we teach people that you need to be prepared, physically and mentally prepared, with whatever tools you have in your tool chest to protect yourself. And the most powerful tool that you have in your tool chest is right here between your ears.
Yep.
That's the most powerful tool you have. And sure, you may have a knife, you may have a baseball bat, you may have a golf club, you may have a defensive handgun, you may have an AR-15, AK-47, whatever tools are in your tool chest, you need to train with them and learn how to use them proficiently, right?
I love where you're going with this, James. Being that I lived in South Carolina for about 2 years, I went through their conceal and carry process, and this is where I am kind of for some regulation with gun laws. I really like that you have to take a course and show that you're proficient with a firearm and train. I really think that that's important. I would even be willing to go as far as saying, if you actually want to carry, you should have to qualify once every 3-6 months. I think that me personally, my personal standard to carry is I've got to go shoot once a month with whatever I'm carrying to feel comfortable and proficient enough that if the situation arises, I'm going to properly be able to use that firearm to defend myself and others. And I'm all for that because, look, I've seen a lot of people out there who just get a gun because they think it's cool to carry a gun and they don't have a clue how to use it. To me, that's just as dangerous as criminals having guns.
Well, having a defensive firearm for your protection and protection of yourself and your loved ones, it's not a magical talisman.
No.
And I can't tell you how many stories I've heard where people got their CWP, went through the 8-hour course, went to the range, shot a piece of paper, 25 feet away from them to prove that they could hit a standing, static target. And then they go put the gun in their nightstand and leave it there.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's it. And it's
Yeah.
like they don't when they go to the store, they don't carry it. They don't. It just stays in their nightstand. It's their nightstand gun, and they're like, okay, well, I've met the requirements of getting my CWP. I've trained a little bit, and I honestly don't feel like the CWP training is actually training. It just basically tells a firearms instructor that you can actually stand still and hit a target at so
Yeah.
many feet. Right?
And we
That's not training.
and we both know
How
that's not going to work in real life, right?
Right. However, so that's the first step of training, right? And so you need to take advanced CWP training where they teach you about concealment and weapons retention, what type of holster you need. How many times have we seen news stories where, Billy Bob was at IHOP at a bar stool and he's got a nylon holster with a gun that's too big for it and it's just flopping around behind him, right? No weapons retention, no survival instincts, no situational awareness. It's like, oh my God, stop. If
Yeah.
that's the best you can do, leave it in your nightstand because somebody's going to walk up and take it from you and beat you with it.
Seriously. Yeah.
You know,
I'm with you on that, man. I really, really, my sticking point for all of this, and I hope people resonate with this. If you're gonna carry it, train with it, shoot it, put rounds down range with it, understand, what it is to shoot and hold that gun. Because if you're only doing that once every couple of years, I'm really good with a pistol, and I even can see the degradation of my skill when I don't practice. So, you
yeah, it
know,
is a perishable skill, no
it
doubt.
really is. I mean, some obviously are more gifted than others, and so my perishable skill and the level that it drops to is better than most. But I have
Sure,
hard and fast rules for myself, and I think that is what it means to be a responsible firearm owner and somebody who, is out there not only to protect myself but other people, who may experience injustice. Like, I don't know. I think it's important, and I think we could all aspire to do some level of training.
well, I'm kind of convicted. I need to go to the range here pretty soon. I haven't
But
been in a
yeah,
while.
look, I'm saying that to tell on myself, man. I haven't been
Yeah,
carrying
yeah.
the last little bit because I haven't held myself to my own standards.
I got a buddy of mine that's in ID. He's been trying to get me into IDPA for the last 10 years, and for whatever reasons, I've decided not to do that. One of the reasons is because I'm 63 years old, and I just don't want to look like a bumbling idiot out there next to people that are much faster, sharper, more agile, blah blah blah. And
That's the reason I don't do it either, is because I don't want to get
right,
embarrassed. I'm comfortable with my skills right now, and I know that I'm going to go that, and it's just an expensive hobby. I don't.
sure. Well, and he shoots once a week. He shoots IDPA once a week, and he's a range safety officer, and he's a match director. He puts the matches together and designs the matches and all of that, and it's great. And I think that's wonderful, and that's his bag, and I
It,
support him in it, and I think it is good training for somebody to if you are looking for a good way to get regular training with your firearm, then IDPA and USPSCA and all those organizations that are out there can help provide that for you, and you can also most ranges that you go to, they have firearms instructors. They'll do one-on-one personal training with you. You
yeah.
don't have to be in a group setting. You can, if you're like, especially women shooters, like I always direct women shooters to other women shooters that are good at that sort of thing and can train women how to shoot.
Oh man, I'm really high on the new laser technology that they have for at home, where it can show you your shot placement based on the laser, what you're doing wrong. And it's such a cheap alternative. And I really like it in particular because you have to cycle the weapon every time. So it's starting to build that muscle memory on how the firearm actually functions, what you would do in a malfunction situation, right? Like, how do you stop it from being jammed or
Right?
whatnot?
How do you clear it?
And I'm telling you, for $200 to invest in that, to be able to have that at home every single day. I'm a really good with a pistol, really good with a pistol. And the last time I used one of those, it really showed how perishable my skill actually is. And I was like, we need to tighten some things up here, because I definitely know what I'm doing. However, I'm rusty because I haven't practiced it, and that's the barrier to entry. I don't know what ammo prices are since COVID. I don't think that they'll ever go back to pre-COVID, unless they have already, and then I'll liar. But it's expensive to go shoot and train. For 5 years of my life, I shot twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. Mondays was just a great start to the week. Fridays, I would practice low light and holster situations because my range supported stuff like that. I would also train the rifle on Friday. But for 5 years of my life, I did that twice a week. And then I moved away and didn't know anybody and kind of let myself lax. And it really shows up in the laser system. And, $200 is all you have to pay one time for a really good system. And you can practice ad nauseum at home while you're watching TV, while the commercials are on, while whatever, and get instant feedback. I think you could do that for yourself, and you should do that for yourself.
I had a buddy of mine here locally, here in Charleston, that had a simulator, and it was a really large. It wasn't an IMAX screen, but it was like maybe a quarter of that, 25% of an IMAX screen. And he had a computer system in which you did you could clear rooms. It was simulation ammo. It was a laser pointer, and you put the laser pointer in your firearm after obviously you make sure it's empty. And it was run on a not a mainframe, but like a MIDI. It was a Unix box. It was tons of
scenarios and
it had lots of scenarios. I like the one where you're going into an airplane, a jetliner, and shooting hostages. You had to make sure you did not hostages, hostage takers, terrorists. You shoot the terrorist, you leave the hostage alone, right? And so I had a lot of fun doing that. I was pretty good at it. I really enjoyed it. It was probably, I don't know, about 10 years ago when I did that, but he let me come in there and he didn't charge me. I'd go in there and shoot.
Yeah, I went to Vegas one time with a bunch of civilian friends, and they have I forget where it's at. I don't even know the name of it, but we were bored during the day and kind of hung over, so we went and did this whole put on the police belt with a simunition gun, and you run through real life 4 different scenarios, and
right.
It was really cool because my civilian friends had never seen how I handle situations like that, yet they're avid kind of gun owners and they do carry. But when we went through that and I did my piece of it and, kind of exerted my authority and my training from the Army or whatever, they're like, fuck, dude, you're on a whole nother level. And that's what I need to get on because there's hesitation involved in those scenarios. And you really don't realize how fast shit happens, in a situation like that. And so while it's hard to train those particular situations, you can definitely make sure that your marksmanship's on point, that you are handling the firearm correctly, that you're proficient with it. And I think that's a huge piece of it.
Amen, brother. I agree. Well, Adam, I've enjoyed you being on the show, and I thank you for your service in the military. I thank you for the work that you're doing with the veterans out there. And I'm going to add your podcast to my pod roll on Liberty and Gun Rights podcast so other people can find it. So liberty doesn't defend itself, and silence never safeguards freedom. If today's conversation sparked a deeper conviction or challenged your perspective, don't let it stop here. Share this episode, start a conversation, and show up in your community. And I want to go ahead and reiterate what Adam has said. If you're a veteran and you're struggling, you're having some issues, thoughts, feelings, whatever those things, what the things that Adam spoke about, if those things resonated with you, reach out and call somebody. Get a hold of Adam via his website, direct message him, whatever. Reach out to the VA hospital, reach out to family therapists, counselors. Do anything but keep it inside.
Yeah.
That's not helping anybody. So as always, stay grounded, stay informed, and stay free. Until next time, I'm James Moffitt, and thank you for listening. And Adam, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, brother. Grateful.
Yep.